Hello everyone, you're welcome back to my channel. Today I want to teach us how to cut a basic princess dart. So the bust I'll be dealing with today is 36. And actually, depending on what you want, if it's a straight blouse, then you definitely know that the hip will most likely be the largest, so that's what we're going to use on laying. But if it's a blouse that's just reaching the waist, maybe you want to add a peplum or a pleat or something to hit to complete the blouse, then that means you need just your shoulder to waist measurement, so the bust will most likely be the largest measurement. So for this one I'm making today, I'm making the one that stops at the waist. So let's get started. Now the bust I'll be working with today is 36. So the first thing is to ensure that this part, this edge here, is very straight. So I'm just going to roll it out. I hope you can see that. So then in laying it, in case it's a fabric, because this is going to have excess, in case it's a fabric, in laying it, the bust, I said I'll be using a bust of 36. So 36 divided by 4 will give me 9. So 9 inches plus whatever you want as a seam allowance. I'm just going to use 1, and then 1 inch also to join the princess dart together, so that makes it 11. So you're going to lay 11, but never mind, I'm just going to do mine like that. I'll mark out 11. Then connect that point together, but on your clothes you can just lay 11 directly to avoid wasting your fabric. The next thing is to take our vertical measurements, and since this is just a basic princess dart, all we need for the vertical measurements is the waist and the chest line, which is the shoulder to nipple. So for this person, the shoulder to waistline is 15. So normally we need to add half to join at the shoulder and half to join to whatever is below. So that means half plus half is 1 inch. So I'm going to take that again because I need to rule a straight line. Then I'm going to rule it out. So I hope we can see that clearly. All right, so now one other basic vertical measurement we need here is the shoulder to nipple. So the shoulder to nipple of this person is 10. So I'm just going to mark 10.5. And why am I marking 10.5? That's because I'm going to use the additional half to join it at the shoulder so that it won't shift up the nipple line unnecessarily. So that's why I marked that point there. So you can connect it together. So once you're done with that, now we can go straight to her shoulder. So this person's shoulder is 15. So I'm just going to do 15 divided by 2. That will give me 7.5. I'll mark it out. And then half to join to the sleeve. And I just want to use this means to teach us how to cut a 4-corner neck. That's a square neck. So I'm using a neck width of 3.5, depending on how wide you want it to be, and a neck depth of 6. So if you want a perfect square neck, you measure 3.5 on this side also. But sometimes when I'm cutting my square neck, especially when the neck width is very wide, I don't use the same neck width here. I make this part a bit smaller to avoid unnecessary exposure of cleavage, but depending on you. But since this neck width is not wide, that's why I'm using the same neck width here. So let's take, for instance, if I had done 5 here, I can come here and do 3.5, so that I'll just connect it together that way. But this is a perfect square now, or 4-corner neck. So we're going to join it together. Observe I've been doing more of round neck, so I decided to just, so measure 6 also here. I decided to change it so that we could learn how to cut other types of neck too. So that's a 4-corner neck. Now I'm going to come to this, to where my shoulder ends here, and measure my depression. So you can use either 1/2 or 3/4 for your depression. So today I'm going to use 3/4 for my depression. So you mark it out and connect it to the neck width here. What we are still doing is, everything is still a basic bodice block. We have not yet gotten to the princess dart. So for the armhole now, in getting your armhole, the armhole is your bust divided by 6 plus 1. So the armhole is bust divided by 6. So 36 divided by 6 is 6 plus 1, that's 7. So you're going to mark out 7 vertically this way. So after marking it out, in order to get that square box we used to get here, you can just do the same measurements that was here at the shoulder plus the same allowance there, that's 8. You come here again and do the same. Then you can connect together. I hope we're getting it. Now, after doing all this, the next thing to do is to measure the bust. And the bust is going to be 36 divided by 4, which will give us 9. So this is 9. And then 1 inch to actually join the princess dart. Then the remaining 1 inch is for the remaining 1 inch is going to be for my seam allowance. So how do I get the point where the princess dart will be? I'm just going to measure from here, not from here, from here. I measure it down. This is 7. I put my tape rule at that tip there. I measure it here. This is 8. So 8 divided by 2 is going to give me 4. So I'm just going to mark 4. Sometimes I decide to add half to it. Sometimes I use it just like that. So this is 4. So from this point 4 here, you're going to come in by 3/4. Then you connect it to where our shoulder ends there. And then here you're going to need your nipple to nipple. The nipple to nipple is 7.5. So that's 7.5 divided by 2 will give us 3.5 and quarter. That's 3 3/4. Then I'm going to add half, which I'll use in joining it together. So that makes it 4.25. So I'm going to mark 4.25 on the chest line. I'm also going to mark 4.25 on the waist line. So for his, I'm just going to rule it out for us to see. And if you have not forgotten, in that measurement, I used to tell us to come down a bit from the nipple. So I'm going to come down by half, since this person is not so busty. And I'm also going to go up by half. But in case of someone that is very busty, I can go down by as much as 3/4 to 1 inch, and up by as much as 3/4 to 1 inch too. So I'm just using half. So I'm supposed to have connected this. Connect this to this line here. So that means we're dealing with this point here now, no longer this point. So we want to connect this point here to this. So let's connect. Never mind, I always like to use my hand in connecting all this. So you connect here. So at your waistline here, you're going to measure half to this side, half to this side, just like your normal dart. The only difference is that we're going to cut this into two to form a princess dart, but every other thing is just the same with the normal dart. Every other thing is the same with the normal dart. So then we come to the waistline here. So at the waistline here, the person's waist is 32. 32 divided by 4 will give us 8. 8 plus this 1 inch, we're cutting it out, so you have to add it up here. And then another 1 inch to join it together, which will be half for this side, half for that side, to make it 1 inch. And finally, the 1 inch I need for the seam allowance. I hope we get that. So let me just rule this out so that we can see that this is the seam allowance. Then finally, before we finish this particular bodice, we need to come out a bit here. This 3/4, you need to kind of bring it out a bit here, because most times when joining these sides together, it doesn't meet up here again. So I always like to add about 3/4. So you can just measure 3/4 to 1 inch. You can trim it off if it's excess, but it's always better. At least it would have given you a perfect shape rather than just leaving it that way. So I'm going to just come out by 3/4. But when you try that, you see it's going to really make your work come out fine and to be so accurate at that edge. So that means we're not going to use this armhole again. So the armhole will now start from here. I hope that is clear. So it's as simple as that. So now for the while cutting the back, what you're going to do is that you're not going to come in by this 3/4. So your armhole is just going to connect straight from this point to this point here. I hope you get that. Your armhole is just going to connect straight from those points. It's not going to come in. And then every other thing is the same as the back. It's only when we are cutting bustier princess darts that we have a separate front from the back. So the only difference in this is probably the neck, the type of neck you want to cut for your back. If it's the same with the front, then you're good to go. So what really differentiates the front and the back of a basic princess dart is the neck, if it's different, and then the armhole. The armhole doesn't come in by 3/4. So now I hope that is clear. So I'm going to cut it for us now. So for this, I want to use the same neck for both the front and back. So So I'm marking the point at the back where the princess darts will connect together. I'm using this to represent both my front and back. You know, if it's your normal bodies, you know you're not going to manage the material the way I'm doing. I just want to show us how it looks like. So I'm going to remove this now to cut my front. So we are just going to assume that this is one side of the front. So for the front, I can now trim off that part that was actually meant for the back. So this is one side of the front. Let me just put it aside and quickly complete the princess dart of the back. So the princess dart of the back, I'm just going to take it straight to this point here and cut. So this is the back. While this is the front. I believe we got that very well. So in cutting the princess, that's just as simple as that. So normally, assuming I didn't manage my paper this way, you know, I'm supposed to actually have the other side here, and then it will be looking something like this, to look like this. But just I had to, since as long as you cut this perfectly, you know the other side is also going to be there automatically. I just decided to use this as the back and this as the front, so that we can just utilize and manage the material I have on ground. I do hope you actually enjoyed this session. It's as simple as this. So you can cut your simple princess dart. So all you need to do is, if it's on your fabric, you can use this pattern to cut on your fabric. You just fold your fabric into two, just follow all the process, cut it out. If the fabric involves that, if it involves a lining, it needs a lining, then you also cut the same thing for the lining. So you join the fabric together, you join the lining together, then you begin to connect at the neck here. But remember to always notch. For like this 4-corner neck now, if you sew it round, maybe using half, you must notch this point into it so that your 4-corner neck comes out very well. And any other neck you also do, you need to really notch it out. So I believe this has been helpful. If you find it helpful, please click on the subscribe button to subscribe to my channel, and also ensure you like it. I really appreciate your time. Thank you. Please click the notification bell to get more of our videos on Debbie Fashion School. Bye.